changes have forced Audi to follow their competitors and go front-wheel drive. Ivan Müller is the man who developed the front-wheel drive car in Germany last year. He's going to be racing in Great Britain this year, and you can never rule Audi out.
The Audi has not a lot of experience with the front-wheel drive, and okay, we have one season experience with myself last year in Germany, but we still have a lot of progress to do, and compared to the other company, we have less experience, so we need to have a bit time to learn. Our job is to try to do the best, and we will see the result.
But if you're looking for a real surprise, just check out the new gang of independents fighting it out for the Autosport Cup. Unbelievably, there's 100 grand on the table for any one of these guys that can actually win a race outright. And on top of that, they got the same race tyres this year as the works teams. So that's ensured a more competitive, bigger field than ever in the independents. Matt Neal's Nissan and defending independent champion Rob Gravitt's Honda are the familiar combinations this year. Gravitt and Neal are joined by a strong rookie contingent, and that's headed by two Norwegians, Tommy Rustad driving a Renault and Roger Moen in a Honda. Rounding out the independent lineup is Mark Lemmer driving a Vauxhall. He's moved up from the Vauxhall Vectra Challenge of 1997. So with so many changes, John, it's obviously shaping up as the closest championship ever. You want to be a brave man to pick the winner, though. Feeling brave?
I don't think you need to be that brave. Renault for me in the early rounds, but don't overlook Honda and Volvo. But the real key to the championship is going to be the one-lap qualifying sessions and also pit stops in the second race. And you can never discount good old British weather.
So there you have it. Renault the guys to beat, but they might just be beaten by the system rather than the new competitors on the block. Peugeot's Tim Harvey crashed heavily in the first-time qualifying session, the one to decide the grid for the pit stop race, and he looks set to miss out on his first taste of the new system, the first one-shot showdown. His team worked frantically to rebuild the car in time for the session.
I'm helping.
For the first time, the touring cars have been using F1-style tyre warmers. That's because it's a one-lap, all-or-nothing attempt to get on the grid for the first sprint race. And miraculously, the work of the boys in the Peugeot team meant that Tim Harvey was ready on the grid in time to be first out in the session. And how hard were they trying? David Leslie locking up a rear hard under brakes into the chicane for the first time. Every driver required to drive at 10/10 and give 100% commitment and concentration. But no matter how hard they think, even reigning champions can make mistakes. Alain Menu steaming into the chicane on his flying lap, overcooked it, badly under brakes, missed the chicane, but amazingly still set the fastest time of the day. Unfortunately, that little slip-up was to cost him dearly. So it was up to Ricard Rydell and the Volvo to try to overthrow Menu. Rydell had set the fastest time in the morning's formal qualifying session for the feature pit stop race. Rydell gave it absolutely everything, straight-lining the curves through the chicane. And although it looked brilliantly quick, it wasn't quite enough to unseat Menu. But fortunately for Ricard and for Volvo, it didn't matter in the end. Alain Menu was excluded, thrown to the back of the grid for that little accident earlier through the chicane.
Yeah, it's a good start for sure after all the testing we've done since early February. It's really nice for the team and me, of course, to be up there.
Well, great news for the organisers then for race one.
Yep, I'm afraid I think it's exactly what THRUXTON was hoping for, you know, with like the one-shot showdown. Somebody making a mistake or having a problem, and like somebody quick, I mean, and being relegated to the back of the grid, and that's exactly where I am now. So, so I think there were a few happy faces at THRUXTON.
THRUXTON is known for its fast-flowing corners, but it's also got a couple of the toughest chicanes in the business and a lot of curb hopping involved. This curb right behind me here, expect drivers to use that one a lot, to get a better run at this part of the chicane. But here we are as we go onto the start-finish line. It's one of the toughest chicanes in the business. You can see how high it is. There's a real temptation for drivers to go straight across it and then try to go straight across the next chicane as well. That lifts the car up. It's tough on suspension. It's a real trade-off for different drivers to work out whether to weave around these curves and be easy on their car, straight line it, save the time, but run the risk as well of doing some real tyre and suspension damage. And this is chicane number 2. It's the Campbell, Cobb and Seagrave complex. This is the first part of it here. The cars come around the crest of that hill in 6th gear, doing more than 130. They drop to 2nd gear for the hard right-hander here. The first part of the chicane is where all the overtaking is done. And this is Seagrave, the last corner in the complex. And look, there's a real dip here, right on the apex. The cars snatch 4th gear as they come through. They're going extremely quickly on the journey out to the back of the circuit. And as they come through here, the steering goes light as they're trying to get the power down. It's tricky in the dry, even more difficult in the wet. It's normally no big deal standing next to this guy at the start of a motor race. He is the reigning champion after all, and he's always at or near the front of the grid. But just look at where I'm standing. We're on row 9 of the grid, position 17, and all that lot in front of us to get by. Up the front of the grid, it's Rickard Rydell in the Volvo. He's faster than a scalded cat around this circuit, and he's really the man to beat. John Watson's got the rest of the grid.
Thanks, Charlie. Well, joining Rickard Rydell in the front row of the grid is James Thompson in his Honda. On the second row, we've got Jason Plato in the Renault, joined by Gianni Morbidelli, a new name to British touring car racing, in the Volvo. Peter Cox in the Honda, and David Leslie in the Nissan are on the third row. Fourth row sees John Clellan in his Vauxhall with Anthony Reid in the Nissan. Fifth row, Ivan Muller in the Audi, Paul Radicic in the Peugeot. Derek Warwick in his Vauxhall and Will Hoy in the Ford make up the sixth row. John Fincliffe and Tommy Rudstadt on row 7 in the Audi and Renault. Row 8, Craig Baird in his Ford, Roger Moen in the Honda, and row 9, Alan Menu in the Renault and Matt Neal in the Nissan.
Engine revs rising now, getting ready. Look at the flames bouncing out of the back of Rydell's car. Looks like thrust 2, not a Volvo, but they're away and racing anyway. A rotten start for Rydell, absolutely terrible. Plato's passed him, and also Thompson's passed him. Great start for Cleland as they head around Allard for the first time, belting over the hill. Thompson, Plato, Rydell right behind him. Rydell having a look down the outside, but Plato's got that covered, and in behind that, having a look down the inside now. Can he get round the other side? But no, he can't. Plato's got the power. He had a much better line, and they stream out into the back of the circuit with John Cleland right behind them.
Well, Cleland already claimed one place, but what a great start from James Thompson.
It was as good a start from Thompson's as it was a terrible start for Rydell, once again muffing the start. Great shot now as we look back from the top of Alain Menu's car as he sides through the field. That's John Vincliffe he's just passed, and there's Will Hoy. He's overtaken him as well as we move around the back of the circuit.
And Rickard Rydell really must be very upset. That pole position last, third place, as they come down to the very, very fast church corner.
Look at them flying through there, 125 miles an hour. Bang, 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 one after the other like bullets from a gun. On board now with Tim Harvey, and there's carnage on the right-hand side.
Yes, one car I got from Derek Warwick.
More contact, more contact.
Well, looks like Matt Neal is involved in that one as well. There is one of the Fords, and that is Will Hoy.
He's been punted off into the distance. He's going exploring now, doing a bit of mowing in the Ford. He's really come off second best after that.
Well, great disappointment indeed. Sorry, Will, I didn't hear that. The great disappointment indeed for Ford, for Will Hoy, and only three-quarter way round a lap.
Warwick went off, and then somebody hit me from the rear.
Oh, poor old Will Hoy belted down the fairway with a 2-wood. He's off into the rough. That's the end of his race, and he definitely was the innocent victim. Back with the leaders now. Thompson, Plato, Rydell, and the first of the Vauxhall, John Cleland. Morbidelli making up number 6 as we go into lap 2, flying over the top of the hill now into the Campbell-Cobb chicane. On board with Jason Plato, looking for a way around James Thompson, or a way through James Thompson if you like. Thompson's off into the side pocket, but is he? Fights back. Plato on the right, Thompson on the left. Thompson says, none of your life, mate, I'm having that spot back.
But look out for Rydell in the Volvo. He's up the inside of Plato. Door by door as they come into Noble Corner. Has Rydell, he's got that second spot.
Great shot from John Cleland's Vauxhall, and what a scrap he's having. Right up there, door handle, the bonnet to boot with one of the Renaults. Plato third. Flying around the back of the circuit, 130 miles an hour as they go round that Goodwood corner, then head down towards Church, one of the fastest corners in the country. Quick dab on the brakes just for confidence, turn in fast, and what a freight train. 6 of them all doing more than 120 miles an hour. Matt Neal's in the pits, obviously part of that first lap skirmish.
Indeed he was, and there you can see fluid from the front of the car. That's a radiator. He's out of this race, Matt Neal, another victim from that first lap shunt.
Well, I think that was the 2 wood if Will High was the golf ball, and definitely his race run. Now, here's a replay as we have a look. We're on board with Will Hoy. Now, onto the right, there's Warwick. He's spinning into the infield. Hoy backed off. You can hear his engine rev sniff. Whoa, and he's being hit from behind.
Hoy was behind him, and me and Binkley. Will just jammed his foot on the brakes, and I went into the back of him going through church. And then there was Binkley and Will like that, and I was in the middle of them. And they just closed together on me. And they hit each other, and then Will lost it, came back and just sideswiped me.
Poor old Matt, what a victim. I've never heard a guilty driver interview, though.
Well, I think you have to say, yes, Your Honour, you're right, Your Honour.
Back with our leaders now. That's Jason Plato in view in 3rd position. On board now with Rydell. In his sights is James Thompson, flying around Allards. That's a very tricky part of the circuit. It's the right-hander just after the pit straight, over the top, and now this is a very good spot for Rickard Rydell to pass, and this is how he does it. He moves to the left and feints. We saw him do this so many times last year, pulls the shuffle, then in the other way. We call that the Swedish shuffle, and he's done it so many times, and no one seems to twig year after year.
Well worked out, well executed, and Rickard Rydell has the lead. He should have had the lead at the start. Now he's in it.
And with a qualifying time he set, we shouldn't see him again. That should be the end of him. On board now with Jason Plato, and he's trying to make amends as we move round the back of the circuit. James Thompson ahead of him. He seems to be struggling, Thompson.
Well, it looks to me the Renault and the Honda are very evenly matched at this point, but something is very, very clear. Rickard Rydell and Volvo have got an advantage here in this race, and look how much already Rydell has pulled away from Thompson.
Looking back from Menu's car again as he surges his way through the field. Radicic chewing away on the bumper bar, and that's one of the Audis. That's Ivan Muller, and Radicic moves to cover. Look at the legs on that Audi. They might have been slow down the straight last year, but in 2-wheel drive format, they got squirt.
Well, they've gained a big weight advantage last year on 4-wheel drive. They were carrying penalties. Now they're the same as everybody else, but look at they argy-bargy through the club chicane. Menu gets it sideways right in the lock stop as they come up now towards Allard corner.
Smoke out of the back of that Peugeot too. That was Radicic just leapt straight across on that curve. I don't know if they're connected.
Well, he hit the curve very hard, and I would not be surprised to see Radicic's Peugeot go into the pits very shortly.
The leaders now James Thompson and Jason Plato, desperate for a move on him, looking down the inside again through Campbell, Cobb and Seagrave, trying to do what Rydell did the lap before, but to no avail. Nose to tail around the back, and this is just exactly what Rydell wants to help him clear away, and I guess, John, it's also going to be a big help to Cleland as he tries to tag onto these two.
And Mark Lemmer, the first of the independents, squeezes down the inside of Craig Baird in the second of the factory Ford Mondeos, and they managed to get through without any contact. Well, so far.
Yeah, that's a pretty clean Ford Mondeo. They rarely finish the race that way. Big jump onto the back of the circuit as we saw, and now we're into the pits. That's Radicic.
Possible to keep going. It's either power steering failed or whatever. You can't even turn the car to the left.
No, we'd have to re-oil it and everything. I can't see any way we can fix it.
I don't know what the problem is. It's a right-handed circuit, Paul. You could have kept driving, mate. There's only a couple of lefts on it.
Well, Paul gets out of his first race in a Peugeot, and that's not a very good result for the young New Zealander. A disappointment for Peugeot as well.
Lap 6, and Rydell leads from Thompson and Plato. Only a couple of seconds covering them. Cleland, Morbidelli and Leslie in the first of the Nissans, rounding out the top 6. And Menu, as you notice, is up to 9th. He's inside the top 10 already, and he's still working away. Menu now moving down the inside of Reed. Reed moves to one side. Don't know if he's got a problem. He's marching backwards towards the back of the field, and Menu is just relentless.
Well, Menu is driving an outstanding drive so far. Started way back in the field. That was due to a problem with the brake pedal when he was doing that one-lap qualifying. He clipped the curb, got some knock-off. That lost him the brake pedal when he needed it for the following corner. He's had to fight his way through the field, and you're seeing a drive from a champion. And this is why I still think Alain Menu has got to be the strongest choice for this year's championship.
The new qualifying rules meaning Menu starts well back. That's brilliant for the championship as well. On board now with his teammate Jason Plato. A great way to see the speed of these two cars. Thompson ahead of us, Plato behind him. This is the fastest part of the fastest circuit in the country. 150 miles an hour, 6th gear all the way down through the box into second. Over that first chicane. Dodged the second chicane. Oh, I think he nipped it just a little bit. Then back on the power as we cross the start-finish line.
And still nothing between Thompson and Plato. They come across the line, second and third. Into Allards, they got to lift off the throttle a little bit, stabilise the car, back on the power. Then the first real opportunity to pass on another lap, and that's into Campbell, Cobb and Seagrave. Plato slides down the inside, but James Thompson, well, he's this time had to concede. So second place goes to the Renault of Plato.
It was looking on for a couple of laps, wasn't it? It looked as though James was holding it up. The question now is whether or not John Cleland can get in on the act. He looks as though he's trying to straight away. On board with Tim Harvey now moving up into the complex, dropping another place. He's actually going back at the rate of knots. He's having a rotten weekend, John.
It's been really bad indeed. Qualifying, he had a big shunt, got the car repaired, but couldn't get it anywhere up the front of the grid. Derek Warwick also recovering from that massive spin, coming out of Church Corner on the first lap, so he's making progress.
There's a real shuffle in this field today, courtesy of the new rules. Bear in mind, this is the sprint race, the first of this afternoon's action. It was decided on a single lap qualifier. That shuffled the grid up. We had quite a few of these cars sent to the back of the grid for ride height infringements as well. All of the drivers are going to be charging extremely hard, especially these two. That's Menu having a big look up the inside of Reed and getting through and sideways. That's his brilliant qualifying manoeuvre repeated.
Certainly a very, very interesting way of going through the chicane, but David Leslie still retains the advantage, and Menu should not receive a penalty.
Well, was he boxing clever? Did he actually lift the throttle there? Here's another look. Did he actually lift and avoid passing to save losing a place?
Well, he certainly got a lot of oversteer on the entry into that chicane, but he had the presence of mind to not try and recover, but go through the gap, come back on the circuit, no damage to the car, and no penalty because he got no advantage.
Yes, John, I think he thought that one through and realised a little bit of a lift on the throttle. Don't pass Leslie before the start-finish line and don't get into trouble. Now, here's a big scrap. Two of the independents, Rustad and Moen. That's the first time we've actually seen one of the new-shaped Renault Lagunas racing in an independent livery, and he's just got past Moen in one of the two Hondas running.
Now, Rustad, very impressive and testing. That's the ex-Jason Plato car from '97. But, of course, he got locked into that muzzle round in Church on the first lap. He's making up ground very quickly.
Great shots from Wustad's car, and you can see, grab it ahead, how fast we're actually closing in on him. He should see grab it off pretty quickly. But the Menu juggernaut continues. Menu moving up on the back of Morbidelli now as we go through the chicane. That's the battle for 5th place.
And Menu has just been mercurial throughout this race. Started way down the field, picked off car by car, almost by the lap. Now getting into the real meat of this battle near to the front. Gianni Morbidelli fending him off, but watch Menu. He's going to try and come under him into the corner, and he does. I mean, it's so predictable. That was so easy. Gianni Morbidelli in his first race in Britain just gave up 5th place.
He obviously hasn't learned any lessons from teammate Rickard Rydell. That was the reverse of the Swedish shovel, being passed into that corner rather than picking up a place. That takes Menu up to 5th. On board now with Anthony Reid, closing up on Peter Cox. He's having an appalling race, storming to the back of the field. He started 4th, now he's about 8th.
He's in 8th place, and look at Reid again. Just a repeat of what we saw Menu do. Dive down the inside, take the place away. Poor Peter Cox has gone from 4th now down to 9th place.
I don't know if he's got some sort of a problem because he looked pretty promising in qualifying. Here's our leading independent, Mark Lemmer. He really has benefited from that first lap shuffle. Miles out on his own, well ahead of the field. And speaking of the independents battle, here's the rest of it. Here's Rustad moving up onto the back of Gravitt now. We thought he'd catch him. We're moving into the club chicane. Rustad looking for a way to pass, leaping over one curb. Oh, will he line him up on the start-finish straight now? This is the battle for acceleration. Doesn't seem to have the legs of him, but Gravitt has a big lift going into Allard. Gravitt much slower on the fast sweeper, and that's really allowed him to catch up. Lines him up now as we go over the top of the hill, left, right, looking to go down the inside, but no Gravitt cover, so now he's on the outside.
Yeah, Gravitt using all his experience in these closing laps to defend that 2nd place in the Independent Cup, but he can't do it anymore. Rustad dived down the inside, and now he's in 2nd place in the Independents.
And here's the fabulous battle for 4th now. Here's John Cleland being hotly pursued by Alain Menu. We're fast running out of laps. Menu's fast running out of time to get past Cleland, and it's going to be a Cadillac, not a Vectra. It'll be the widest thing in the business. Having a big look down the inside into the more than a big look, we're having a big shove. Morse code on the back of the Vectra. Menu's trying to find a way past. Cleland's not going to get him. What's he going to do?
Well, Cleland, very experienced, very wily, very hard to pass. Menu bursting to take that 4th place away, but in the closing laps of this race, there's too much risk to take. You've got to finish. This is a championship over 26 rounds. If you lose points here, you could lose the championship.
Talking of losing things, poor old Peter Cox has just lost another place to the Audi of Ivan Muller. Back now with this dice for 4th place. There's Cleland, there's Menu. We're on the fast area of the circuit now. Out the back, heading down into Church. Puff of smoke as Menu backs off the gas, puts the power back on through Church at 125.
I'm really impressed by the work that Vauxhall have done this year. They've got a car running competitively ahead of what is the quickest car in the field right now.
Yeah, they got a lot of stick last year for absolutely straggling at the back end of the field. They said it was their aero package. They seem to have fixed it because they're right up there and competitive. Right up there, 2 wheels right up there. Same with Menu, both straight lining that curve. A couple of laps left. Forget the suspension, forget the tyres. Let's have the shortest possible distance home.
John Cleland In through Allard, Alan Menu, look at the way he leans in that Renault as he goes through Allard, almost flat out. Again, looking for a position as they come up to this Campbell's Cobb Seagrave complex. Bumps into the back of the Vauxhall. John Cleland is insensitive. He doesn't even know the Renault's there.
Yeah, that Swiss Morse code for get that thing out of my way. I've got to get ahead of you. Whoa, he can't do it.
Well, I'll tell you, you can't get a car more sideways than that, but Menu recovers. He's lost a couple of car lengths, but by the time they get back up to the club chicane, he's going to be right on that bumper once again.
And isn't this brilliant racing? Last year we saw Mr. Menu, Mr. Points driver, being careful percentage. No percentage about this. It's 100% or nothing. I haven't seen him leaping and jumping and striving like this for such a long time. Here's his last go. We're coming round for the last time now. Down into Church Corner. Flat out, hard under brakes. I think he's brake testing him.
Well, he's got to also get himself in position. If he wants to make a pass into the chicane, he's got to position himself right. But this man, Rickard Rydell, has done a superb job. Started from pole and looks like he's going to win the race.
Yeah, well-deserved win. Brilliant drive from Volvo. They really put that together well. Across the line for first, convincing first, always looked like it in qualifying, and apart from the start, always looked like it. And here are these two. They're still at it. The kids are still at play. McClellan just holds Menu out for fourth. A brilliant opening race and a great drive from Rickard Rydell. Less than 2 seconds covering the first 3 places. Plato in the Renault second, Thompson in the Honda Accord, a strong drive from him in third, and then our dicing duo, John Cleland and Alain Menu, fourth and fifth. Morbidelli in the Volvo 6th, the 2 Nissans, Leslie and Reed 7th and 8th, Muller in the first of the Audis 9th, and Peter Cox rounds out the top 10.
Had a bit of wheel spin at the start, but I was out third, and I knew I was quick on the first few laps, so I just tried to get past as quick as possible. And I think we were quick here last year as well. This was the only pole position of the year last year here at THRUXTON, so I think the car is good here, and I think we need to work hard to continue this pace for the other circuits as well.